martial arts will be burning up Montreal. Las Vegas, Nevada will play host to one of the eagerly anticipated light heavyweight fights of the year as the executioner Bernard Hopkins takes on the undefeated Pride of Wales Joe Calzaghe at the Thomas and Mack Center. Our own Jason Abelson caught up with the X-Man to get his thoughts on the fight.
We're pleased right now to be joined by the former undisputed middleweight champion in the world and the current reigning undisputed light heavyweight champion. And on April 19th, he faces undisputed super middleweight champion Joe Calzaghe at the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. He is, of course, the executioner Bernard Hopkins. B-Hop, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, man. Just got finished wrapping up with all the media here in LA, and it's been great. It's been fun, and just ready to rock and roll, man. We're on the countdown.
Bernard, you recently brought aboard Freddie Roach to join your team of trainer John David Jackson, Mackie Shilstone, your strength and conditioning coach, and Nassim Richardson. What kind of additions has Roach made to your preparations for April 19th?
Well, wisdom and knowledge and his professionalism, Freddie Roach brought into the game, of Bernard Hopkins. And it started, as you mentioned, with the Winky Wright fight last year, and we had conversations after that, because he got fighters that he's been promoting through Golden Boy, Pacquiao, and a few others. And I like what I learned from Freddie for that short period of time. As you know, that Nassim Richardson is here, right beside me. He also he worked not physically, but he worked ringside, inspired me by being there, and made it through his medical situation. And he's been here in camp with her for 7 weeks, and even holding the pads every now and then for me. So everything is fine, man. The team is here. I don't necessarily call it like everybody else has been calling it, a dream team to get prepared for Joe. I think it's a team, a wisdom team, a knowledge team, a professor team that I have here with me.
So really just one more weapon for you to add to your arsenal on April 19th, right?
Correct.
What impresses you about Joe Calzaghe as a fighter?
What impresses me about Joe Calzaghe that he got away with the biggest con game in boxing by fighting over in Europe 99% of the time, and a few people in the United States think this guy is the goods. But what's going to be exposed is that 80 or 90% of European guys he fought in Europe is not half as good as the guy that never make it to a championship in the United States. And I want to expose that, and I'm eager to make his O become a one. And you know what? He still can go about his business, because having 50-something, 40-something fights with one loss, especially to Bernard Hopkins, he'll just get in line with Trinidad, Glenn Johnson when he was 30-something and 0, Joe Lipsy when he was 27 and 0, saw all southpaws. So he'll just get in line with the guys that lost their zero to Bernard Hopkins. His O must go, and that's one of my biggest motivations.
When you take a look back at who he's fought, and you've mentioned that he's obviously been a sheltered fighter fighting in Europe, there aren't too many warm bodies on his resume. Sure, he beat Mikkel Kessler, but Kessler was another protected fighter in Europe. He beat Chris Eubanks originally to win the WBO super middleweight title. Fought Charles Brewer, Jeff Lacey maybe, but I shudder to think what you would have done to Lacey. Is Joe Calzaghe ready for 12 rounds or less of B-Hop?
No, I don't think. I think Joe Calzaghe might be ready, but he won't win. I mean, he could be ready for 12 rounds. It'd just be a 12 round of torture and terror. So, I mean, to me, the longer the fight go, the worse he'll look physically. I honestly believe that. I honestly believe that Joe will probably need one of the major doctors to rearrange his face come April 19th.
You mentioned before that you thought Joe Calzaghe's undefeated record was a bit of a con job. There are two schools of thoughts when it comes to undefeated fighters. The first is an undefeated fighter doesn't know how to lose, therefore he's a tougher fighter to beat. The other is an undefeated fighter is an untested fighter. Which one's true of Joe Calzaghe?
Joe don't know how to lose, that is true. I just got to show him.
You got the answer.
Nobody showed him. I got to show him how to lose. See, he haven't been shown how to lose. And like I said, it's fights that he fought on his record, I've seen 2 of them, that he easily could have lost these fights. The decision could easily went to the next guy. But he got the fight. Of course, it was in Wales, Manchester, or one of those places. But the thing is this. The guy's undefeated. That doesn't scare me. None of the guys he fought in his record come close to fight the matching Bernard Hopkins' legacy and record. Name one fighter on Joe's record that come half of what I've done in my whole career. Name one. I challenge you to name one fighter that Joe have fought, have come close to the legacy of Bernard Hopkins. Name one.
You're asking me? I can't
Help
tell
me
you.
out. Help me out. You can't tell me? Now, ain't that a shame? When a guy got full, now seriously, all jokes to the side. Guy got 40-something fights, right? And I've talked to you many times before, and you're a well astute guy in boxing. You can't even tell me yourself.
There's nobody, that's why.
One guy on his record that he had fought, over 45 fights this guy had fought, that you can't tell me one guy on his record that's eligible or that would make the Hall of Fame.
No, there's nobody there.
That's a shame.
There's nobody there.
He's the biggest con man in boxing. I can't hate on him. He made a lot of money doing that. It's a great con job, great management. Great management. That's great. Now you talk about he ought to get the Great Management of the War Year for the BBC.
Bernard, thank you so much for your time and best of luck on the 19th. Thanks so much for joining us today. That was Bernard the Executioner Hopkins, the reigning undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world, who faces Joe Calzaghe April 19th at Las Vegas's Thomas and Mack Center. And I'm not sure Joe Calzaghe, as good as he is the one to finish Bernard the Executioner Hopkins off either. I mean, when you think about Joe Calzaghe in his career, yes, he's defended his title 21 times, but who has he really faced? You look down, he's fought exclusively in Europe against the same type of opposition that European-based fighters get to face, not the stiffest level. Yes, there was Mikhail Kessler. Kessler was a very good fighter who, again, another European champion, fed the B-level opposition in the sports that European-based champions get. So I'm not sure there's a barometer on Joe Calzaghe's resume that will state how good he'll do against Bernard Hopkins, who, quite the opposite, has faced absolutely everybody in the sport.
Murderer's row.
Total murderer's row. Roy Jones Jr., Antonio Tarver, Felix Tito Trinidad, Oscar De La Hoya. It goes on and on and on. Glenn Johnson. I mean, Bernard Hopkins has been there and beaten everybody. Well, Calzaghe's been there, but he hasn't beaten everybody.